All right. All right. Cool. 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 So this thing, the body of work that I'm making, um, it's gonna be it's about discarded people. You know, it's gonna be discarded people. It's about discarded people, people that feel discarded or disregarded by society, in any kind of way. And so like I like to just get like your perspective on it. Like when have you ever felt like discarded or disregarded, not only by people or maybe loved ones, but like by society as a whole? You know what I mean? And like when's the first time that you can remember being like feeling like that?
Man, the earliest memory, I'm probably about 3 years old, and I know a lot of people find it hard to remember that far back. But for me, whenever you're a kid, I learned a proverb to say, kids always remember the bad shit before they remember the good things. And with me, it's not so much what stays in my memory, it's what continues to play out. But feeling discarded, I mean, everybody has their own version of discarded. We see these pawn shops, these places that say, for trash, one man's trash is another's treasure.
Yeah.
But when you're that trash, it's another story, because you don't see yourself as being someone else's treasure, no matter how much they try to tell you you're a treasure, no matter how much they try to tell you you're good enough, no matter how much they try to tell you that your art is beautiful. You still see it as bullshit, and you crumble it up and throw it away. And that's our whole life in a nutshell, for coming where we come from.
And like
But as
you
far as feeling discarded, that's what I believe they teach us a lot of the times, that once you washed up and used, there's no more use for you. And that's for bringing this to the table for others to hear. And in time, maybe it'll save somebody from their own fire, their own circumstances. See,
man, that's a
me.
really good, that's a good way to put it. How do you see like
It's
how do you see people like why do you think it's so hard for us, like, or anybody who's gone through whatever and sees themselves as like they could never be someone's treasure? Like, why do you think it's so hard for us to get out of that?
because it's a system, and people talk about a system, but they don't study it. They don't break down the dynamics and teach people. The system is set up to where you're programmed from the time you're a kid to believe you're only allowed to go so far in life. You know what I mean? And when you programmed with these programs, you end up in institutions. And when you end up in these institutions like I did, you find out that the program is real. The program is set up that if you don't follow it, then you're going to fall into the pits that they're going to force you. Then it becomes physical. And either which way it goes, you're going to get with the program. People talk about conspiracy theories, Big Brother, all this bullshit. But the truth is, what are we doing as individuals to even change anything here on the normal level towards this program, this system, this beast? Everybody talks about these revelations, and, we could flip that inside and out, and I'll promote that to the fullest. But the point is, we find ourselves here at this point where everything's about to be lost, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do to save it unless we allow other people to feel what it feels like. And it just so happens that people feel art, whether it's, paintings, drawings, music, poetry. Art is so powerful because it's something the angels control. And that's what I believe, and I've come to study and believe for a reason. Because they the ones that led the rebellion. And in the end, that's the whole point, is when you go against the system, the rebellion, what they taught, I think it all comes back to the same fall, pride. That if we can't put that pride aside, then it's all the same thing, no matter how you word it, no matter how you put it. I mean, we'll always look at ourselves like we're trash because the system is the system, and it's not going to change. It's not that history repeats itself, it's that the nature of man doesn't change. And that's something people find complicated to understand.
Ego, huh? Like the pride and the ego tied into each other, and like identifying, like, so like So like you like, you know, after you like go through these systems and like especially like the systems that you went through, like deep embedded established systems that are meant to keep us in cycles as a people. When you come out of that system, or when you come like reintroduce yourself into society, do you see more systems and more programs out in the real world all around you? And do you also feel like you're more looked at as a discarded person or disregarded person, like once you are back introduced into society? You know what I mean? Like, do you see yourself as more looked like disregarded?
No. I feel like it's already it's already set up. See, it's been like this since the beginning of the fall, when mankind first started killing each other. You know, whether you want to call it Cain and Abel, or whatever civilization started to war against itself. But you know, the minute man set up his system, it had its groups. It had the jocks, it had its preps, it had its rockers, it had its, you know, it had its pretty people, and then it had its ugly people. And that's just good and evil. But I think that when you visualize a system, you see a government, you see presidents, you see the wrong symbols. But see, the system, it's a built-up computer. That's how detailed it gets. So we're set up in these groups already, and it's not so much you get out feeling discarded. It's that's how you're raised. That's the only reason you keep falling back into the same patterns, is because your mind is programmed to be discarded. Your whole mission in life is that you believe you're discarded from the time you're a kid, because, you know, maybe your dad don't want to be around you, or maybe your mom took down drugs like mine was, and you know, you feel unwanted most of the time because you don't have both your parents. But whatever the reason is, they program you. And the program is that anybody susceptible to this system of a cycle, everybody's put in categories. It's destined. You're going to fall into a category from the time you're born. It's an algorithm. And the thing about algorithms is they're patterns. And if you look at patterns, they're habits, they're thoughts, they're words. And it's that simple, but it's that hard. It's that hard because we can't control our mouth, we can't control our minds, we can't control our hearts and our emotions. This category. So coming back out here, I'm right where I belong, at the bottom. But this isn't where I want to be. This isn't where nobody wants to be. But we've been programmed. And that's the system. The system is only a reflection of what it is at the top. See, what we are at the bottom, it just shows what we are as a nation, as a whole, at the top. Because everybody is a collective mind. Now, we like to think that we're individual, not connected, but it all goes back to one thing, whether you could treat your neighbor right. And since we can't, we are exactly what we see on the TV, Democrats and Republicans and others, because, you know, where we set up the system, we're categorized from the day we're born. And as long as we fall into a category and not love, or harmony, or peace, it's a system. And the system is just a cycle. Whether you're Latin, you're black, you're white, whatever your race is, knowledge, it's not going to make the system any better. Because the system's already smart. It's already beat us. It's already taken advantage of all of us. But the system, it's not a race. It's an energy. It's a frequency. It's a spirit. And unless we break from that system of categorizing each other, categorizing life, and instead of harmonizing with reality, we're going to forever war with ourselves first, and then we're going to war with it on the outside. And that's what we've come to now. You know, now the message is being told where, hey, either you treat each other right, regardless of the system, or you keep repeating the pattern, because that's all it is. It's a repeat of your emotion, repeat of your anger. It's a system. But all these things that cause division, it says they all belong to one source. So it's like, no matter how you put it, as long as we follow the chain of command of the system, which is, you know, do as you will, feel how you want to feel, fuck the next man, then we're always going to be a part of this system. And until then, it's like you are where you belong. And it's messed up to say. I feel comfortable right here with these dope fiends and these addicts. I feel comfortable around prostitutes and dudes that sell drugs because that's how I grew up. But that's the program. The program is that you allow yourself to think that it's okay to be divided from the rest of the world and society. And it's wrong because you don't ever make peace with people like that. You know, every time the cops pull up on us, we have an aggressive demeanor off the rip, and we expect them not to rough us up when it look like we tensed up off the rip. But you know, that's something about life, is that when things are tense, you really don't want them to be there because things are more than likely bound to go all the way left. But as far as coming back out here and having to accept things, yeah, it's like you accept it. I accepted it. But now I find myself in between the brink of wanting to break free and just become a part of it. Because either you break free, you elevate it and you save people, you help everybody else realize the system, or you remain discarded in your mind because that's the only program you know. But call it the Matrix, call it whatever you want to call it. We can't come to peace with each other. It's all about that. You're going to see that the system is whatever you want it to be. And this ain't what I want anymore. I don't want to be comfortable right here at the bottom feeders. I'm not saying they don't deserve to exist. I ain't saying that they ain't any less of human beings. I'm just saying I don't believe this is our place as artists, as creators. You know, because if there is a such thing of what people call the all-creative mind, what I believe is Yahweh, and there's a creative power within us that could change not only this world but the universe. And if hypothetically it's all true, and the devil does what he has to do to drown out through the system these purified beings, these people that actually create life through their minds, and I think we're the targets. And I think that's the way it's gonna be until we either master ourselves or master our art. One of the two.
Oh yeah.
I took off.
Yeah, that right there, what you said. I've never thought about it like that. The fact that like us as creators are targets to the other forces, and that's really I've never thought about it like that. So now that like you have a real clear view of the system. Like now you know the system exists. A lot of people don't know that. They don't even try to scratch past the surface. They don't question anything around them. Nothing. They're just part of the system. That's it. They're fine with never questioning anything or whatever. But now that you've seen the system for what it is, how do you see, like, what do you think are like some steps for someone that like if they wanted to deprogram or actually like move away from something so a part of us, like so embedded, something that's part of our everyday life and who we thought we were? How do you see like somebody deprogramming and evolving from that? You know,
it's simple, and I'm gonna tell you like I tell myself night after night, you know, why the fuck I can't get right. And the answer is so simple. It's you have to detach yourself from what you've already attached yourself. You have to unlearn what you think you know and learn what is real. Because, you know, I hear people all the time walk around real tough, but the minute they put in the corner, you know, they're begging for life. Or for whatever reason, they think they could run through a brick wall. They hit the brick wall and, you know, they find out that bone isn't as hard as cement. But the thing is, you know, the wisdom is in when you're wise, don't ever think yourself to know more than anybody, but think of yourself as a fool, so that in as much as you already know, you'll further yourself. Because it's only when you put yourself equal at the top of the pyramid that you brought down low. Like the first one who rose up and made themselves the best. That's the thing about being the people's champ or being the people's leader, is that the people choose you.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, with us, we have to allow ourselves to unlearn what we already know because the people don't accept us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if the people don't accept us, then obviously we might be doing something right, but I believe there's a better way. I believe there's a way we can gain understanding, because every good leader has the quality of charisma, which is the persuasion of a mass people, a collective consciousness.
Mm.
So if we have that power and we don't understand it, why wouldn't somebody try to take that and use it for their mass destruction, for their own gain and power? Because truth is, we're all selfish.
Mm.
Whether you love to help people or whether you love to fuck people over and mess people over for money, you know, the truth is, you're doing it for gratification.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is, if you're gratifying yourself to hurt somebody, it's a whole nother reality than you doing it to help. Because at least you get gratification from helping, but hey, that person grows, they live, they survive. But when you do it for your own self-gain, call it the 7 deadly sins, call it whatever you call it, but the system is set up that mankind, we don't make it with each other. Because nobody else, nothing else in this universe can stop us from being what we are, except us. The only thing that threatens mankind are the viruses we create or the nuclear weapons we already have in store. We are our own destroyers. But I'm a Scorpio, so, you know, I don't believe in mythology, but I like to tell the story of the legend of the Phoenix, where I believe mankind will have to burn himself, where he literally have to do what, you know, the Messiah came to do, die and rise again. And that's what I see all of us coming from. All of us artists, we come from a dark place. That's the truth. Whether you're a comedian, whether you're a musician, whether you're an artist as a drawer, we come to places because we shut off in these dark corners where we have nothing else but this piece of paper and this pen. And you know, this music is something that runs deep in our soul, because we listened to these songs as kids and we never forget the inspiration they gave us in the moment. So I believe with us, we're going to be used to counterattack. If there is such thing as negative and positive, then we should take our roles more seriously.
Yeah.
Where the system ends and the next reign begins, I believe, when the next man cares about how the next man feels and thinks.
Man, that's a perfect way to put it. You know, two things that stood out to me too right off top, and this is really, this is badass, by the way. Like, hell yeah. But like, for one, I'm a Scorpio too. When's your birthday again, bro?
October 26th.
October 26th.
1990.
Mine November 6th. 84.
Man, bro. Happy belated, man. I wish I would have knew that. Hey, my bad. That's my fault.
Nah. Don't
I
worry.
try to keep track of stuff like that.
Facebook should have told you. Hey.
Man, bro, I really don't be on there like that.
Nah, I know.
Social media, that shit, it kind of freaks me out.
Hey, but
and, you know, the last thing I had was a MySpace. That was 09, 010.
Oh,
010.
yeah. I know I had like the background and like I had music going when you get on your own page. Hey, but no, what I was going to say is that one, that I'm a Scorpio too. And another is, and I don't get really big into the Zodiac either, but you know, I throw it out there like whenever. But no, another thing is, you mentioned the Phoenix. So the way that I started my art career, like in public, was with a Phoenix painting. I actually used to paint a Phoenix painting at the house, and I was there painting in the crib. And then I'm like, you know what? One day I want to show my art in the gallery to the public. And I'm like, why?
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
What made you choose the Phoenix as
the
center of your art?
So check it out.
Your attention.
So check it out. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So like, I felt like I was on the cusp of something new, and I had already chosen to take art seriously. And I felt like like what I had talked to you about earlier about like you don't have to die, but a version of yourself can die. You can let the old you die, or the old permissions that you gave yourself die. That can be a death, an ego death, and then have a rebirth from that. And I felt like I was going through that, because I used to have when I was just starting out my paintings. No bullshit. I used to sign my paintings TATG, the artist and the gun, because I would straight up finish a painting and then grab my 9, put it on my hip, and then just go and walk the streets or go to the club. Or like I was in this crossroad, like 2 different lives. I had the pistol with me and like just waiting to get into something, but then I'd go back home and do some paintings, having dreams of being an artist. So I had this crossroads, and then I came out with the Phoenix because I made a choice to leave it behind and take this seriously. And then I started painting it out. I took it out in public, and I just started painting. 7 a.m. I would go downtown right here in Rochester, and I would just put my painting up on this thing, and I would put my headphones on and just paint. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it. If they kick me out, they kick me out. Well, they ended up offering me some deals to do some public art. Boom, 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 boom. The rest is history. And that kind of snowballed. Now, the painting of the Phoenix, they had me paint these electrical boxes around the city, like the utility boxes. Well, I painted a Phoenix on top of, it was 5 boxes. I painted a Phoenix on top, and it flowed from box to box. Now, the painting that I was painting in front of everybody else, my cuz bought it. And it's funny because he's the only one that's ever paid like full price for one of my paintings. And it was like $400. And he paid the whole thing.
Who's that?
Flaco.
Had to be him, huh?
Hey, here's the thing.
Hey. He's always appreciated art. That fucker right there. He's always, you know what I'm saying?
Right?
Enlighten everybody who came through, you know what I'm saying, on some artistic stuff. He was always on to the next idea.
That's the thing. And he inspired me.
He never made it out, but he was on to the next.
Well, and that's the thing. He inspired me because he would be surrounded by all the homeboys, everybody chilling, and everybody's like playing the games or whatever. And then he'd have music going on that was like classical music or like old, like weird shit. And everybody's like, hey, cuz, like, hey, cuz, hey, cuz, what the fuck you listening to?
He used to trip me out with that.
Hey, and instead of him being like all feeling like embarrassed, he'd be like, what? You can fucking listen to it, you can't, whatever, fucking, like, give a fuck, that's what it is, that's what it is. So he's always been very, like, sure about, like, he's respected his creativity, even in the hood and around everybody, and he's, like, stood his ground on that. And he's always, that inspired me way back. But, so he bought the painting, and then when he got into shit with the U.S. Marshals, when they were taking his property from the crib, no lie, this is what he told me. They got the painting of the Phoenix. They got it off the wall. They were like, oh, that looks like it's worth money. Because, they're trying to seize the assets. And they grab it. And they put it with everything else they're confiscating. And that's when he was like, nah, my cousin gave me that shit. Like, boom, 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 whatever. And then they gave it back. And I was like, man, I never got a compliment like that with the U.S. Marshals wanting to snatch it up. Like, that's you can't make that shit up. And again, it's the Phoenix. It goes back to the Phoenix, and that's how we started. So that's something that stood out to me when you said that, when you mentioned the Phoenix and that rebirth, and the fact that you say that man has to absolutely burn themselves, dismantle themselves, unravel themselves completely, and start from scratch is major. And how do you see, like, so do you see it as like a real, like, burn themselves to the ground, or do you see it as us unraveling all the systems that are in place? Or do you see like breaking down barriers and old frames of thought? Like, what do you see as the burning of the Phoenix? What is that to you? What does that look like to you? Like the burning of mankind, what does that look like to you?
All right. I'm going to tell you something probably nobody's ever told you. And I believe this with all my heart for a reason. I believe I know the information I know for a reason. And if this is the reason, I hope whoever hears this listens. But it's a prophecy. The prophecy is that mankind started where he started for a reason. And however he got down that road doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is if you're going to make it right. And everybody thinks it starts with some system. It starts with a whole nation changing. It starts with everybody else. If the next man don't give a damn, well then I don't give a damn. But the truth is, it's prophecy that the world will end in fire one last time. And that's not just according to the Bible. But that's my preference. That's my belief. That's my heart. That's my word.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the war is for peace. But even one of the oldest civilizations, they were perfecters at mathematics. Everything is a design. There's nothing by chance. If something was off 1 centimeter, 1 minute, it would fall into chaos. That's the truth. It's design. So if you understand the designs of atoms and cells and quantum physics, if you read into all these things and see how it's all just broken down on a smarter level, which, in other words, it's a reflection. It is at the top. I believe that we're coming to a point where we finally can't take it. We finally can't stand all this information. We can't stand all these knowledge and religions and all the stuff that just drives us insane. It drives people to kill themselves. And the truth is, mankind's already come to that point where he just want to kill himself. Everybody as a whole. I look on Facebook every now and then, every other day, every day, whatever it is I feel like doing when I do it. And all I see is some crazy stuff, people posting about the next person. They might make it seem like it's a bunch of haters, but they're directing that message at one person. Mm-hmm. And the point is, everybody comes to that point where they're ready to die. They don't care. And it was prophesied in that last day, people's hearts going to grow cold. They ain't gonna have no love for one another. But he said that's just the beginning. So I believe it's just about the beginning. But the rebirth is about what we are physically, because that's how we see it. Emotionally, because that's how we react to it. Mentally, because that's what we believe. And spiritually, because you know what, that's all that matters. And that's the only thing that's gonna save us. But regardless of your belief, the truth is the world's it's coming apart. People are fighting already. They're having riots across our country. People are fighting with themselves. People are ready for a civil war. And the prophecy is that when we fall, our enemies are going to take us. Just like they did in ancient times. So if that's all bullshit, then we'll see it play out in the future. But the truth is, us being against each other doesn't help our situation against the outside forces, whatever they are. You want to call them cops, military, you want to call them the European Union, whatever you want to call the systems of the world, that's your business. But the point is, we're coming to a point where we don't care about human life, and that's a dangerous point, because only then are these viruses released. Only then are these nuclear bombs dropped. Only then is there the possibility of the whole earth being burned. Now, in my opinion, I think not only are we supposed to create and go out and put light into this darkness that is the negative mind state that people have produced into the world through all their, what do you call them, just bad acts. Because, there's people that do bad things that they deserve that. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. People molest children. People hurt innocent women. Life's messed up out here. We talk about our stories, and we can only imagine what somebody else went through. Because that's how I always saw it. Somebody else going through some work. Somebody else got it. And then I finally realized, like, damn, I got it messed up.
Yeah.
And everybody else thinks they have it hard. And so we come to the point where, as a humanity, our rebirth is in, we lose our minds. Because insanity is you doing the same thing, expecting different results. And we're going to war expecting a different result when World War II taught us more than anything. There were bodies on top of bodies in the streets. Coronavirus couldn't come close to what World War II actually demonstrated. Mm-hmm. It's a man's sickness. It's in his peace with his brother, his neighbor, his cousin, whatever you want to call it. But if ever this was a message that I had in me to tell somebody, it is that if we don't learn how to treat each other, then we should accept our place in life. We should accept ourselves as dropouts, as drug addicts. We should accept all that this is. It's messed up, true, but this is ours. It belongs to us because, we inherited it from our fathers and our grandfathers and passed it down to us, this lifestyle. It's been going on for millennials, longer than thousands of years, where you have your rebels, you have your thugs, and I believe that it's put into place that we touch bases with the center of our universe, because ours is, I believe, is a Scorpio, and I studied all sorts of history, and it came at a price. It came at a price because I never experienced high school. I never experienced a mom and a dad at the same time. I never experienced much of either. But the point is, I know all this because I studied so much, because in so much pain and so much confusion, I wanted to know. I wanted to know what all this was about. And what I came to the conclusion of is that first, it's about love. Second, it's about belief. You don't believe in love, then there is no eternity. Because love is the only thing that can keep going and keep giving, keep on. But as far as us Scorpios, I believe that we're putting each other's paths because we're all the same. I believe that the one who came and was the promised seed, I believe he was a Scorpio because he was real intuitive. He was smart. He felt people. People felt him. He was real charismatic, but he was behind the scenes. He stood back and watched things happen. He gave people advice, and he told them, what, don't go tell nobody. I did this because I don't want the glory right now. You know what I'm saying? I got to do what I got to do. And that's always been the type of homeboy I was. I stood up on the stand, and I told him, hey, I did this. He had nothing to do with it. Yeah. And I remember homeboy telling me, like, that's real. And I said, that's what's supposed to be. Yeah. And I think that us as Scorpios, we're meant to lead this world to this fire, because we're the most self-destructive out of the 12. See, the 12 zodiac are constellations. And it's not to show man that the constellations are who he should look to for answers. It's to show him how special he was. See, because each part of the zodiac, it represents a part of the human body. If you look it up, the Scorpio rules the genitals, which means we produce life, but we also take it. Because we don't have to give it. We're so much life givers that if we don't create, we automatically take it. That's what it means. And I end up in the house with Scorpios, and I tell myself, like, dang, God works funny. It's coincidence, but nothing is coincidence. It's our divine purpose. So when we cross paths with each other, it's always divine, because that's what we are. I believe we're going to be the ones to lead the world into destruction, because we have that power to change it, but we don't, or we won't. And that's my opinion. But in the time coming, when the fire do begin and the tribulations start, I think the whole point of the Phoenix is that we don't forget that we're supposed to pass this. We're supposed to pass this pain, this heartache, everything we ever went through. I think we're supposed to rise above it. And while we're going through that, where I did my time, hey, it wasn't over. You know what I'm saying? And I went through days that, hey, I wished I was dead. I wish that I didn't have to feel, the heat, the smoke, gas. But the point being is that when somebody else can feel your pain, only then can you really coexist. Coexist meaning, like, you really feel this next motherfucker. You really feel this next man, this homie. You really feel him to the point where it's like, if you hurt him, I'm hurting. You know what I mean? And it's coming to that point where us, as creators, artists, if we don't change this world, then we have to be the front line. We have to be the first ones to burn. For whatever comes, whether it's another world war, whether it's another virus, whether it's another civil unrest, I believe we as artists, creators, I believe we should be the first to lay down our lives and minds and creativity for what's right. Because I believe that's what certain people did in the past, and they passed on a torch.
Damn.
And it's peace.
I love that.
If we can't give peace, no matter what violence comes against us, then there is no hope. There is no life. There is no eternity. But if we can make peace with the darkness, even while it kills us, I think that was the whole point. Because that's impossible.
You know,
how can you make peace with somebody hurting you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my point of view, my belief, everything I come to learn.
Man, that's great. I love the fact that you and another thing, here's another thing that I've never heard before either. The fact that you put us artists and creatives at the forefront of this war when when in the past all the wars and everything that have ever happened, artists were like nothing to a war. It was just soldiers in the front lines, generals, lieutenants, or whatever that had nothing to do with art. And now,
hey, bro.
maybe that's been the problem, is that the creatives weren't leading the war, and it's not a physical war. This is a war for our existence, and having the creatives on the front line, the way that you put that is, man, it's so solid. I love the way you put that.
I'm gonna tell you something else, and this is something that was taught and given to me, and I still don't understand it. All right, this is why the world has gone its course in history all up until now. Between the 2 world wars, between the wars in Europe, all of it comes back down to the poets, the artists, right? But the difference is they stood afar. They didn't stand on the front line. See, Hitler, a lot of people like to hate him. A lot of people like to hate the swastika, talk down on the swastika. And me, myself, I'm not of German descent. No, I come from a Spaniard and an Indian race. Consider myself more Spaniard, European, because I got more facial hair. I look like a white boy sometimes when I stay out of the sun. But my point is that all that, it don't make life for us here today if we're only looking at the color of someone's skin and not their loyalty. Because the loyalty of it is you're going to be on the front line if you're the general, if you're the king. But in those times, see, Hitler was a poet. So a lot of people don't know. He was an artist. He was smart. He was educated. Just like many people that they called rebels.
Oh, yeah.
And see, the point was that he stood afar. He watched it happen. He wasn't on the front line. He sent his soldiers into an all-out chaos. If you ever study World War II, it's messed up. They were supposed to win. That's the truth. The Nazis were going to rule the world. But, whatever happened in history happened, and they were overwhelmed by their own stupidity because they had superior military. And the point is, when poets stand afar off, when the artist and creator stands in the back and watches life happen, nobody respects that. They don't want to die. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to die. So those soldiers, they fought to the death, but only because they were afraid, they were high. See, for us, if we take up our servant towel, get on our knees, and literally wash people's feet, that's the front line. Because you know what? On the front line, there are people that have got wounded. There's people that they're hit. And, hey, Mama's calling. You hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.